Hi everybody, Daniel Tyler here. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you enjoyed the hot weather over the weekend now that lockdown's being a bit eased that little bit more. But yeah, I hope you're keeping well and keep going with your trading. I can see you're all doing very, very well. I just thought I'd take the time to go through Aussie dollar this week. I'm going through Aussie dollar because as I was going through my analysis over the weekend, um, it's at quite an interesting point for me where at first I didn't quite know where it was going until I did that little bit of extra analysis and put some indicators in for a bit of confirmation. And I'd just like to share my analysis with you guys, and I'll start it from scratch just to take you through the process and my thoughts on where I think Aussie dollar is going to go. So I'm going to leave my moving averages on for this video just because it provides actually quite a lot of context for this sort of market. We can see on the monthly chart here that the 50 moving average is actually quite reactive on the Aussie dollar chart, especially on the monthly. I mean, for the past 15 years, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're looking at potentially an eighth reaction, which just shows that the 50 moving average is a very reactive for the Aussie dollar, whereas the 200 moving average has only been touched once or twice. The rest has actually cut through that. So we're at this point on the monthly. I'm looking at the monthly this time simply because the back end of last week, the week just gone, that was the end of the month, and that means a new monthly candle would have arisen on our charts. So it's good just to see where that monthly candle has taken us, look at the biggest picture possible on our charts, and just see where the price is from the very top all the way down to the bottom. So what I always like to do first is I always try and spot any channels, but I can't really see any channels in here right now. I mean, we could potentially do one here, but that's more of a trend line. No, I'm not happy with those channels. So what I'll do instead is I'll put on the LTI downtrend lines, and we can see here that we've actually had a trend line break, an inner trend line break. And Andy's backtested strategy suggests that on this trend line break, there's an 80% chance that price is going to come and hit this trend line at some point. However, we have to kind of put it in context with the market. We can see here that we are in a downtrend. Yes, there has been a monthly break here. However, a trend is defined, especially a downtrend, is defined by making lower highs and lower lows. So here we've got a lower high and a lower low. We've got a lower high here than this one, and this lower high will not be confirmed until we make a lower low. And we're at a point, we're at a really reactive area from on the 50 moving average, where this can actually go down and make a lower low despite this trend line break. And when we do make this lower low, the trend line can shift. So at the moment, I'm not looking at this as necessarily a trend line break right now. The only time I'd really consider this is if we do see a down movement and a rejection, a clear monthly rejection off of the inner trend line to show that this is going to go up to this sort of area. But try and build a picture with what's going on, and we can put in our support and resistance levels just to see if we're at any key reactive institutional levels in the market. So I'll put in the monthly levels here. And we can actually see that we're at a monthly key level with these two lines that are quite close together. And that confluenced with the 50 moving average that we can see is relatively reactive. This is giving me a little bit of confirmation that this market may be looking to push down, which is a really good sort of gives good clarification on it, really. There is all possibilities that within the next month, this line can break, this key area can break and be retested. And if that does, there's a very good chance that we are looking to come up to this sort of area here, as the room for movement is there's a lot of room for movement basically, with no monthly support and resistance coming into play other than the 200 EMA, which hasn't really been too reactive in the market. And if this line breaks, we would look to come up to here. But at the moment, this hasn't broken. We're at a reactive point in the market, and we're also at a key level. Personally, the way I'm filtering this down is I'm actually looking at a short at the moment. But if I do see any reactions around these levels, then it will change to a long position. So then we can actually go down into our weeklies. So our weekly chart, again, we always start just by spotting any channels. So we take a zoom out, see the bigger picture, and there's actually one recently that I can see here. Just bear with me just while I put these in. Mine can be better actually. Just trying to find that line of best fit. There we go. And then we've got potentially one there as well. So there's a rough idea of where the channel is on Aussie dollar on the weekly. And actually similar to the monthly, on the weekly, we can see we're actually at the 200 EMA on the weekly. And we can see, just like on the monthly chart, the 200 EMA is basically acting as what the 50 EMA is on the monthly look. So we can see that on the weekly, the 200 EMA is the most reactive. And we can see we're at that 200 exponential moving average. And also our candlestick analysis suggests that we've actually had a nice rejection off of that as well. We've come and touched the 200 moving average and had a nice pin bar rejection where the wick is at least double the size of the body of the candle, which is a really nice rejection off of that sort of area. So with this, it's building us a picture that it's at the 200 moving average on the weekly. We're at the 50 moving average on the monthly. We're at a monthly key level. And now we can actually put in, just for context, I'll put in the trend lines again, just to see if there's any extra ones that are more accurate. Apologies, that's the wrong one. Put in our downtrend lines. Yeah, it's just confirming we've still got the same trend lines as before. We've had that break. We haven't necessarily come back and retested that line yet. So at least for the next couple of weeks, I'll actually be interested to see a rejection off of here, and at least for price to come down to this trend line. So I'm looking definitely for some shorts at the moment, unless this 50 moving average is broken within the next couple of weeks at all. So with that in mind, I'll put in the weekly support and resistance levels again, just to see if we're at any key levels there, which we are at a resistance level, as we can see, Confluence with the 200 moving average, but nothing incredibly of note. We have broken this level here, and we have got room to go either up to here or retest the previous support levels, the key support level. So there is definitely a lot of movement, room for movement on the up and the downside. And this is actually giving me some confirmation after this 200 EMA rejection and confluenced with a resistance area. I'm looking for price to at least come down to here now. So that would take maybe a week or two to come down and retest this weekly key level. Now we can go down into the daily and just see what's going on the daily charts. So what I'll do is I'll put in any channels that we can see. Just bear with me, I didn't mean to do that. It's all about finding that line of best fit, which certainly is not there. Just bear with me just while I reformat these lines. make them a little bit more accurate for you guys. So you can see this channel line is definitely reactive, simply because it's acting as both support and resistance in the past and the present. So what we can do is we can move these parallel. Yeah, so that's actually a really nice sign to show that we're potentially in a nice short position. Um, we've had we're in an ascending channel for the daily charts, and we've actually had a rejection off of this channel resistance up here. You can potentially put another one here, but we need it for my rule-based approach. I would like a second touch because we only have the one. I'd like a confirmation of a second touch just to confirm that that's definitely a channel resistance. But at the moment, it doesn't actually look like we're necessarily going any higher, simply because we've hit that monthly resistance level. We've hit a weekly support, the 200 exponential moving average on the weekly as well, and also we've actually just come off of a channel resistance line on the daily. I'll put in the channel support and resistance lines. So again, we've definitely got some room for movement on the downside. We've come off of this channel resistance. We've broken this support level. It looks like we're coming down to this sort of area at the very least. So around these 0.7066. So that will take certainly a couple of days to get there. So within those couple of days, we can filter down our trades to potentially having some short positions. But we could be in the midst of having a reversal on the higher timeframes, remember, so it could certainly go lower. What I'll also do is I'll just put in some uptrend lines just to see we are clearly in an uptrend. And the way that we can maybe approach this is I'll just make these a little bit thicker just so you can see. But it's certainly something that I'll consider doing. And that is with these trend lines, as we are in relatively strong uptrend still on the daily. We've had an inner trend line break, and we're looking to kind of retest this area here. And we can see that over the few weeks or so, that price has had a lot of momentum on the upside, and recently it's actually started to lose momentum. We've cut through this inner trend line. We're about to retest here, and because it's losing momentum, the trend may be starting to end. And with that in mind, I'd actually like to see this trend line break before I potentially enter any short positions, just to increase the probability of a short position being a valid option. If we start to see a reaction and a rejection off of this trend line, it certainly could go higher, but higher timeframes depict where the lower timeframes are going to go. And what we're looking at on especially the monthly and also the weekly is we are having quite strong rejections off of the moving averages that can potentially lead to us going down and having a weak Aussie dollar for this upcoming week and weeks to come. So then we can go on to our 4 hour. Let's I'll just quickly double check to see if I can put any more channels in. It's likely to be relatively the same to the daily channel. Let's have a look. Let's change these. So how reactive are these levels here? There may be no, it's a bit too messy for me actually. Let me take some time to quickly have a look at this and just see what's going on TradingView instead. This is why I quite like TradingView actually, simply because sometimes it's relatively easier to see kind of what's going on in the market. It's definitely easier to draw your lines sometimes. Actually, we'll get the extra third touch there. It's not going to be the prettiest of channels, but it's certainly reactive in a way. So we can see reaction, reaction. So resistance, support. We do have support here, another support, resistance, 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 resistance. So that's actually quite a reactive line in a sense. And we've got definitely another one there, and we'll leave it there for now. So on the 4 hour, we've actually had a rejection off of off of the 4 hour channel resistance as well. So what I will do is I'll go into here. Oh yeah, it's basically the same actually. That's actually quite a nice channel when you look at it again. We've actually had a rejection off of the 4 hour channel resistance. We are currently at the 50 exponential moving average on the 4 hour, but because we're potentially in that sort of reversal scenario on the monthly and the weekly, this can potentially just break, and maybe the 200 moving average can as well. What I like to do in the way that I'm actually going to approach this is I am going to double check and go down into a lower time frame. So instead of going into the hourly, I mean, this would be quite a nice buy point in a way, but the higher time frames are suggesting that we are going to potentially have a reversal sometime soon. And because of that, I'm not quite sure the amount of movement that we're going to have down, as we do have the key levels and the trend line retests potentially coming into play. So what I'm actually thinking of doing is, at the moment on the short side, catching small short movements. So sometimes I like to go into the 15-minute chart, and on the 15-minute I'll put on a new template, take off the RSI, and this is the way that I'm actually thinking of approaching this. So what I like to do is sometimes just catch the small movements in the market, use the moving averages and the Fibonacci's to try and catch a short trade or a long trade depending on the market. But here we can see that we've had, on the 15-minute, we've had a 200 moving average and a 50 moving average crossover, suggesting a trend change on the lower time frames. And I'll put in any downtrend lines just to see where we are. And we are starting to react with the outer downtrend line on the 15-minute, which looks like actually a relatively nice buy area, a sell area, sorry. And I'll put in our 4 hour key levels actually as well, just to give us an idea of where we're most likely to react. Go down onto the 15-minute. So on the 15-minute, we've definitely got a lot of room for movement. We do have some support coming into play here, but the real key level we're looking at is this one on the 4 hour and the 15-minute here. So what I like to do is I use the moving averages and the Fibonacci in conjunction with each other. So I'll put on my down Fibonacci as well, and we can see that as the market moves in waves, we are currently in that C pullback. So we could see a slight overextension of this trend line to hit this moving average, which is confluenced with a red fib pullback. So I'll actually be looking for a slightly better price to come off of the moving average and the fib pullback to go for this target, and just repeat the process until we hit this level. So it'll be nice to get at least a couple of short positions until this level, see how price reacts, and then we can potentially take some short positions down to this sort of trend line area, this sort of weekly key level maybe, or maybe even just this daily key level here if we have this trend line break. So I do hope that this has been relatively helpful. It's certainly in an important position where it can go either way. It looks like Confluence is showing that this is going to go down a little bit further. That's why I'm filtering out my trades to shorts at the moment. But I'm a little bit uncertain on how far it's going to go, as we do have quite a lot of key levels and support support levels coming into play. One thing I would like to show you actually just before we do continue is actually just to bring a little bit more clarity on higher time frames. I do like to just put in a fib cycle, put in a Fibonacci just to see if we have had a very significant fib pullback. So I should have done this before, but I'll put it in now, and we'll put in the down Fibonacci here. Perfect. That's given me even extra confirmation that this market's looking to go down right now, simply because we can see we're in a downtrend. The Fibonacci movements have been relatively fluent. It has been ranging for a while. However, we've had a Fibonacci retracement to the golden ratio, which is this line here, rejection off of the 50 EMA, which is some Confluence as well. And it looks like the market long term is looking to come down to this sort of area. Is that a realistic area where we can go? That would be going down, especially to all-time lows. So having this fib pullback to the golden ratio confluenced with a monthly key level and also a 50 moving average, it's certainly looking like the market's wanting to push down to here, as it is in that C wave looking for a D extension. But yeah, I hope this video has been useful for you guys. It looks like the market's going to go down in my eyes, and that's why I've filtered out my trades to shorts. But if you do have any questions, if you did find the video useful, please get in contact with us, give us some feedback on the videos, and we'll do whatever we can to help. And feel free to drop me a message as well. In the meantime, I hope you guys do well. I hope you guys continue with your trading, and happy trading to you all. See you later.